Despite being a game based on a family-friendly film and book series, Hogwarts Legacy is sometimes anything but. Welcome back, my fellow gamers, it's me, Amanda. Join me as we count down the top 10 scary Hogwarts Legacy moments. What moments did you find the most terrifying? Which moments had you on the edge of your seat? Let us know in the comments. Number 10, the Absconder. I'm gonna try to keep this list light, by the way, in terms of spoilers, so while I will be jumping into some of the quests and of course what is spooky about them, I'm just gonna try and avoid major spoilers for those of you that are joining us in terms of the story of the game. I didn't want to spoil that for myself as I'm not completely through, and I didn't really want to spoil that for any of you either because I know, we're all still probably playing this thing. So you can feel safe to join us regardless of where you are in the main quest and the story following it. This focus of this point though involves going into the Forbidden Forest. And not just facing a ton of acrobantula, but a massive one as well, known as the Absconder. Those with a fear of spiders, beware. This might not be a quest for you. You can get the quest to have your chance at an encounter with the Absconder by talking to Edgar Adley, whose friend basically convinced him to help him acquire something from the Forbidden Forest for them to sell. However, things quickly went awry when Edgar learned his friend Milo's plan was basically to get venom from an acromantula. Milo, of course, did not make it, sadly, and not only did Edgar leave his friend's body behind, which he feels pretty bad about, but also Milo's pocket watch, which in his last moments, Milo actually pleaded for Edgar to take with him and deliver to his daughter. The Absconder, however, is not only frightening to fight because of their appearance, but also because of just how tough they are as well. And friends, before we move on to our next spot on this list, if you love what we are doing here with some Hogwarts Legacy content, if you're super into the games, let us know by clicking that thumbs up button. Number 9, Rookwood Castle. Venturing into Rookwood Castle is a pretty scary prospect when you consider that it is teeming with enemies and puzzles, but other than that, it is pretty much abandoned. Going into Rookwood Castle is required as part of the main quest, so it's also something you kinda can't avoid. In order to access the castle, you must figure out how to get in though, which for some can be a bit of a puzzle in and of itself. In order to find your way to the entrance, you must speak to Professor Rookwood's portrait on the castle grounds, and basically he will guide you in to continue your trials. But even more frightening, he also warns that you can only proceed alone, so you gotta do it all by yourself. Just walking down the hall in this old, beautiful, and drafty castle as you undertake the second trial is eerie in and of itself. Being alone in a big space, I don't know what that is, but that's a scary thing. Why is that scary? It just is. Number 8, locked up with no place to go. While it's only a brief moment in the games, one of the most terrifying moments for me is still when I was first locked inside the Gringotts vault alongside Professor Fig near the beginning of the game. The goblin banker lets you into the vault but says that the vault's owner also asked that whoever accessed it basically be locked inside. A pretty terrifying prospect, to be honest. With no visible way out, you are taught a new spell by Professor Fig, Revelio, probably one of the most useful spells I would say in the game. Using this spell, you are able to find a magically hidden door, and using your power to see ancient magic, you are able to open said magical door, which opens up into a dark and massive room. Personally, the idea for me of being locked away in a vault for the rest of my days is horrifying. But then again, when I first opened the door and then had to take a step into the darkness with only Lumos to guide my path, I was wondering whether or not it might just be better to stay in the vault for the rest of my days, actually, as opposed to, facing whatever was waiting for me out there in the dark. It's a scary. Number 7, escaping into the night. The first encounter I had with Victor Rookwood, I wasn't sure how I was going to make it back to Hogwarts safely. When you first go to Hogsmeade to recoup some supplies that were used on your way to Hogwarts, you of course encounter some trouble. Because, you're gonna encounter a lot of trouble throughout the game, let's be real. It seems the village ruffian and all-around scoundrel Victor Rookwood is trying to get you killed as he's in league with Ranrok. When this fails, he attempts to corner you at the Three Broomsticks. Fortunately, the owner of the pub at this point in history, Serona Ryan, manages to keep you safe there, kicking Victor out. However, the concern remains as Rookwood basically promises to be waiting for you outside and makes note that, you can't stay in the Three Broomsticks forever. Ugh. This threat had me personally shaken in my booties, considering that I felt Rookwood at this point was a much higher level boss than I could probably take on based on, the spells I knew. And I didn't know how exactly we planned on getting back to the castle safely. I guess there is the Flu network, but I don't know. I imagined we'd have to sneak all the way back to the castle. In my mind, I was like, I guess we're gonna have to do that. I don't know if I can sneak that long. Fortunately, you just finish this scene with a time lapse that returns you safely to Hogwarts without you actually needing to worry. I mean, I guess, like I said, we could always just flew there in theory anyways, so that's probably why. But still, the prospect of having to face Rookwood potentially in the game so early certainly scared me. Like when he threatens you of like, you can't be in here forever, I was like, dang, he's right. We're in trouble. No, we're not. We're just gonna time lapse back to the school. It's all good. Number 6, visiting the Forbidden Forest. The Forbidden Forest is one of the most exciting areas of Hogwarts castle grounds, but it's also the most restricted area as well. Not somewhere students are meant to roam and often hang out, but for you, a location you will likely frequent as a result of quests and also to feel the exhilarating rush of facing off against some of the most fearsome, magical beasts in the wizarding world. Because of this, however, it's also likely one of the scariest places to be in this game, especially when you first go there and uncover what manner of enemies are lurking in the darkness waiting to meet you, attack you, and perhaps even feast upon you, should they be the ones to win the fight against you. I wonder how many times in total I will have died in this game while in the Forbidden Forest. Number 5, meeting Ranrok. Ranrok comes out swinging in this game, and it's clear from the beginning that he is a villain who means business. Right at the beginning of the game, it starts off with you already on an adventure attempting to find your way to Hogwarts and ending up mysteriously at Gringotts. There you end up using a key you found to gain access to a very, very old vault. However, Ranrok forces his way in the vault also around the same time, seemingly looking for probably whatever it is you yourself were unknowingly hunting here. A character identified only as Goblin Banker in the subtitles, who let you into the vault in the first place, is also the one who let Ranrok in. He accompanies Ranrok into the area you've uncovered, deeper into the vault, but also insists that as Ranrok did not have the key to the vault, that he, should maybe leave, because it's not really supposed to be there. Ranrok doesn't take too kindly to these objections, tossing the banker up in the air with a red swirl of magic before dropping him with a devastating thud to the ground, presumably killing this poor banker. The banker that we met seemed so nice. I really did not like this part. I also was like, why doesn't he have a name? I would love if he had a name, but he doesn't have one. It definitely instantly made me feel both wary of Ranrok as well as inspired me to rebel against him. Revenge for the Goblin Banker. Nameless Goblin Banker. Number 4, witnessing death. You want to talk about scary? This game literally starts off with you being attacked by a dragon. Right from the beginning, we are immersed into a magical world filled with perils, and where around every corner it feels as though darkness lurks. The fact that you are in the middle of a scene where you seem to be getting information when the dragon attacks only adds to the scare factor, as it's super unexpected. I remember when I started the game, I was somewhat in shock. I was so chill. I was just playing and I was like, la 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 la, and then that just happened. I was already face to face with a dragon and I really felt like I had just started. Going back to watch the scene, I also noticed a pretty grisly detail that I missed the first time I played through this. The carriage you were flying around in is obviously being pulled by Thestrals, which prior to you witnessing the death of Osric, you actually couldn't see. But as you turn around to look at the front of the carriage after the fateful crunch of the dragon's jaw, you may have noticed that the Thestrals actually reveal themselves, because now your character has witnessed a death. So yeah, I guess goodbye innocence. Number 3, a narrow escape. Definitely one of the most frightening moments for me was when we first escaped Ranrok. Ranrok shows up at Gringotts as we previously discussed and attacks you and Professor Fig. As the fight begins, the floor in the vault warps and a giant guardian knight rises up from it, fighting Ranrok first before being pushed back towards Professor Fig and taking a swing at him. Missing, its sword strikes a pillar which collapses just as you and Professor Fig move through a portal which has appeared in the vault that seems to lead to what appears to be a forest. Now when you come out of the portal, you realize you're near to Hogwarts as you get your first breathtaking look at it. The moment I came out though, I gotta say, before we get to the Hogwarts part, I was terrified, because I thought for sure Professor Fig would be smooshed, or he would have been hit or something by that pillar. I was like, oh man, what if I'm alone here? What if Professor Fig doesn't make it? Fortunately, none of that happens, and at that time, he's totally fine. But the fear of that happening in the moment was so real for me. It was too real, really. Number 2, Azkaban. If you can believe it, it isn't actually Slytherins that get to go on a quest that requires visiting one of the more terrifying places in all of the wizarding world, the awful prison known as Azkaban. It's Hufflepuff? That's right. If you want to explore this horrifying location whose prisoners and halls are haunted by Dementors, you'll have to have chosen Hufflepuff as your house. Would not have expected that, but I kinda love it. You can get the quest that involves a trip to Azkaban Azkaban as a Hufflepuff from Eldritch Diggory's portrait, who will warn you of the dangers that lie ahead should you accept this mission. However, I've also heard it's like one of the best quests of the game, so as terrifying as the prospect of visiting Azkaban is, it sounds like this quest may also be well worth the fright here. Number 1. Haunted, PlayStation exclusive! What's more horrifying than a scary mission? How about a scary mission that many of us can't even play? For those of you on PlayStation, this one is available for you, and you may even have already played it and now know about it yourself, which, good for you. Cool. You have a PlayStation. I don't. So I don't get to play this one yet. But for the folks like me, sad PC players, or I also have an Xbox, I also have a Switch, but don't have a PlayStation, we do not get this quest yet because it's an exclusive at this time only for PlayStation. This quest is called Haunted Hogsmeade Shop, and it becomes available to players in the winter time and allows you to basically buy your very own shop in Hogsmeade. Sounds lovely. However, there's a bit of a catch. The shop has a chest in the back, which is basically filled with, how can I put it, like a haunted house, like a haunted dungeon. It's wild. You will have to explore the house or dungeon to solve its mysteries and acquire the items that the previous shop's owner, Cassandra Mason, asked you to gather, which she says supposedly belonged to her late husband, but as you continue to explore, you're going to uncover some truths here. However, you won't be able to do this until you face Fastidio and are able to match with and defeat him. Get ready for items that move on their own, rooms plunged into darkness subtly, mannequins that spring to life and attempt to destroy you, and hallways that shift seemingly to elongate as you run down them. Honestly, this whole place reminds me of another haunted place I've had to explore before in a game, the Ocean House Hotel, which you may know from Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, and that is also a super spooky place with a super morbid mystery in it. I mean, this one's not quite as morbid as that one, but they're both pretty spooky. That's all the time we have for this video. I hope you enjoyed exploring some of the darker moments from the game with me. We'll see you in the next video, but until then, keep on gaming on. That's me casting spells.